Namaste, Dandavat Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're also paying our humble Dandavat Pranam to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada for providing us this wonderful commentary and translation of Srimad Bhagavatam. And following the guidance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, we are praying to Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said that unless we can understand something about Radharani through our study of Bhagavatam, then our study has been for waste. Yadi sevā-vañcitāḥ yasyāḥ kṛpayā vayaṃ labhema sarvaṃ prāpnumaḥ prayojanaṃ dhāmni śrī-bhagavat pade Kṛṣṇa-sambandhi sarvaṃ Yadi na jānīmahe tutam Aṣṭādaśasu sahasreṣu ślokānāṃ bhāgavat-oktiṣu Rādhārānīṃ na vindāmaḥ tadā niṣphalaṃ bhagavat yayinam radhikaya kripam vina vyartasyat sarva-pariśramaḥ. If we are cheated out of serving that personality whose mercy awards us everything we need, including residence in the Lord's holy dham and all things connected to Krishna, and if we cannot understand or discover Rādhārānīṃ within the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, then our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam has been pointless. Without the mercy of Śrīmatī Rādhārānīṃ, all of our efforts are in vain. Jai Śrīmati Umadevi Dasi ki Jai. Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Didi.
So we are continuing our reading today from Canto 5, Chapter 18. This is the beginning of Chapter 18 for us. This is a summary before the chapter begins. In this chapter, Shukadeva Goswami describes the different varshas of Jambudvipa and the incarnation of the Supreme Lord worshipped in each. The predominating ruler of Bhadrasva Varsha is Bhadrasrava. He and his many servants always worship the incarnation known as Lord Hayagriva. At the end of each kalpa, when the demon Ajnana steals the Vedic knowledge, Lord Hayagriva appears and preserves it. Then he delivers it to Lord Brahma. In the land known as Harivarsha, the exalted devotee Prahlad Maharaj worships Lord Nrsimhadev. The appearance of Lord Nrsimha is described in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Following in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj, the inhabitants of Harivarsha always worship Lord Nrsimhadev to receive from him the benediction of being engaged in his loving service. In the tract of land known as Ketummalavarsha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Rishikesh, appears in the form of Cupid. The goddess of fortune and the demigods living there engage in his service day and night, manifesting himself in 16 parts. Lord Rishikesh is the source of all encouragement, strength, and influence. The conditioned living entity has the defect of being always fearful, but simply by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he can rid himself of this defect of material life. Therefore, the Lord alone can be addressed as Master. In the tract of land known as Ramyaka Varsha, Manu and all the inhabitants worship Matsyadev to this very day. Matsyadev, whose form is pure goodness, is the ruler and maintainer of the whole universe. and as such he is the director of all the demigods, headed by King Indra. In Hiranmaya Varsha, Lord Vishnu has assumed the form of a tortoise, Korma-murti, and is worshipped there by Aryama, along with all the other residents. Similarly, in the tract of land known as Uttarakura Varsha, Lord Sri Hari has assumed the form of a boar, and in that form he accepts service from all the inhabitants living there. All the information in this chapter can be fully realized by one who associates with devotees of the Lord. Therefore, in the Shastras it is recommended that one associate with devotees. This is better than residing on the banks of the Ganges. In the hearts of pure devotees reside all good sentiments, as well as all the superior qualities of the demigods. In the hearts of non-devotees, however, there cannot be any good qualities, for such people are simply enchanted by the external, illusory energy of the Lord. Following in the footsteps of devotees, one should know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the only worshipable deity. Everyone should accept this proposal and worship the Lord. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Vedaischa sarvar aham eva vedya. The purpose of studying all Vedic literature is to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. If after studying all the Vedic literature, one does not awaken his dormant love for the Supreme Lord, it is to be understood that he has labored for nothing. He has simply wasted his time. Lacking attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he remains attached to family life in this material world. Thus, the lesson of this chapter is that one should get out of family life and completely take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Text 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha Tatacha Badrashrava Nama Dharma Sutas Tatkula Pataya Purusha Badrasva Varshe Sakshad Bhagavato Vasudevasya Priyam Tanum Dharmamayam Hayashirsha Bhidanam Paramena Samadina Sani Dhapyedam Abhigrananta Upadavanti. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, Bhadrasrava, the son of Dharmaraja, rules the tract of land known as Bhadrasva Varsha, just as Lord Shiva worships Sankarshan in Ilavrita Varsha. Bhadrasrava, accompanied by his intimate servants and all the residents of the land, worships the plenary expansion of Vasudev known as Hayaṣirsha. Lord Hayaṣirsha is very dear to the devotees, and he is the director of all the religious principles. Fixed in the topmost trance, Bhadrasrava and his associates offer their respectful obeisances to the Lord and chant the following prayers with careful pronunciation. Text 2. Bhadrasravasa Uchu Om Namo Bhagavate Dharmayatma Vishodhanaya Nama Iti. The ruler Bhadrasrava and his intimate associates utter the following prayer. We offer our respectful obeisance unto this Supreme Personality of Godhead, the reservoir of all religious principles, who cleanses the heart of the conditioned soul in this material world. Again and again, we offer our respectful obeisances unto him. Purport. foolish materialistic persons do not know how they are being controlled and punished at every step by the laws of nature. They think they are very happy in the conditioned state of material life, not knowing the purpose of repeated birth, death, old age, and disease. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita 7.15, Lord Krishna describes such materialistic persons as mudhas, rascals, the mam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradamaha. These mudhas do not know that if they want to purify themselves, they must worship Lord Vasudeva Krishna by performing penances and austerities. This purification is the aim of human life. This is not meant for blind indulgence in sense gratification. This life is not meant for blind indulgence in sense gratification. In the human form, the living being must engage himself in Krishna consciousness to purify his existence. Tapo divyam putraka yena sarvaṃ sudhayet. This is the instruction of King Rishabhdev to his sons. In the human form of life, one must undergo all kinds of austerities to purify his existence. Yasmad brahma saukyam tvanantam. We are all seeking happiness, but because of our ignorance and foolishness, we cannot know what unobstructed happiness really is. Unobstructed happiness is called Brahma Saukya, spiritual happiness. Although we may get some so-called happiness in this material world, that happiness is temporary. The foolish materialists cannot understand this. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj points out, Maya Shukaya, Baram Udvato Vimodhan, Bhagavatam 7.9.43. Merely for temporary materialistic happiness, these rascals are making huge arrangements, and thus they are baffled life after life. Text 3. Aho vichitram bhagavad vichachistatam kanantam janoyam himisanna pasyati jayan asadyarhi vikarma sevitum nirhritya putram pitaram jidrisati. Alas, how wonderful it is that the foolish materialist does not heed the great danger of impending death. He knows that death will surely come, yet he is nevertheless callous and neglectful. If his father dies, he wants to enjoy his father's property, and if his son dies, he wants to enjoy his son's possessions as well. In either case, he heedlessly tries to enjoy material happiness with the acquired money. Purport. Material happiness means to have good facilities for eating, sleeping, sexual intercourse, and defense. Within this world, the materialistic person lives only for these four principles of sense gratification, not caring for the impending danger of death. After his father's death, the son tries to inherit his money and use it for sense gratification. Similarly, one whose son dies tries to enjoy the possessions of his son. Sometimes the father of a dead son even enjoys his own son's widow. Materialistic persons behave in this way. Thus Shukadeva Goswami says, "How wonderful are these pastimes of material happiness, transacted by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." In other words, materialistic persons want to commit all kinds of sinful activities, but without the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, no one can do anything. Why does the Supreme Personality of Godhead permit sinful activities? The Supreme Lord does not want any living being to act sinfully, and he begs him through his good conscience to refrain from sin. But when someone insists upon acting sinfully, the Supreme Lord gives him sanction to act at his own risk. mata smritir janam apohanam sha. Bhagavad Gita 15.15. No one can do anything without the sanction of the Lord, but he is so kind that when the conditioned soul persists in doing something, the Lord permits the individual soul to act at his own risk. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, sons always outlive their fathers in other planetary systems and other lands in this universe, especially on Svargaloka. However, on this planet, Earth, a son often dies before his father, and the materialistic father is pleased to enjoy possessions of his son. Neither the father nor the son can see the reality that both of them are awaiting death. When death comes, however, all their plans for material enjoyment are finished. Text 4. Vadanti vishvam kavaya sma nashvaram pasyanti chadhyatmava vidho vipaschita tatapi muyanti tavaja mayaya suvishmitam krityam ajam natosmitam. O unborn one, learned Vedic scholars who are advanced in spiritual knowledge certainly know that this material world is perishable, as do other logicians and philosophers. In trance, they realize the factual position of this world, and they preach the truth as well. Yet even they are sometimes bewildered by your illusory energy. This is your own wonderful pastime. Therefore, I can understand that your illusory energy is very wonderful, and I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. Not only does the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead act on the conditioned soul within this material world, but sometimes it also acts on the most advanced learned scholars who factually know the constitutional position of this material world through realization. As soon as someone thinks, I am this material body, aham mameti, from Bhagavatam 5.58, and everything in relationship with this material body is mine, he is an illusion, moha. This illusion caused by the material energy acts, especially on the conditioned souls, but it sometimes also acts on liberated souls as well. A liberated soul is the person who has sufficient knowledge of this material world and is therefore unattached to the bodily conception of life. But because of the association with the modes of material nature for a very long time, even liberated souls sometimes become captivated by the illusory energy due to inattentiveness in the transcendental position. Therefore, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.14, Mam evaye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. Only those who surrender unto me can overcome the influence of the material energy. Therefore, no one should think of himself as a liberated person immune to the influence of Maya. Everyone should be very cautious in their execution of devotional service by rigidly following regulative principles. Thus he will remain fixed at the lotus feet of the Lord. Otherwise, a little inattention will create havoc. We have already seen an example of this in the case of Maharaj Bharata. Maharaj Bharata was undoubtedly a great devotee, but because he turned his attention slightly toward a small deer, he had to suffer 2 more births, one as a deer and another as the Brahmana Jada Bharat. Afterward, he was liberated and went back home, back to Godhead. The Lord is always prepared to excuse his devotee, but if a devotee takes advantage of the Lord's leniency and purposefully commits mistakes again and again, the Lord will certainly punish him by letting him fall down into the clutches of the illusory energy. In other words, theoretical knowledge acquired by studying the Vedas is insufficient to protect one from the clutches of Maya. one must strongly adhere to the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service. Then one's position is secure. Text 5. Vishvodbhavastana nirodha karmate hyakartur angikritam apyapavrata yuktamna chitram tvai karyakarane sarvatmani vyati rikte chavashtutaha. O Lord, although you are completely detached from the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this material world, and are not directly affected by these activities, they are all attributed to you. We do not wonder at this, for your inconceivable energies perfectly qualify you to be the cause of all causes. You are the active principle in everything, although you are separate from everything. Thus we can realize that everything is happening because of your inconceivable energy. Text 6. Vedan yugante tamasa tiraskritan rasa taladyoner turanga vigraha pratyadade vai kavaye biyachate tasmai namaste vita hitaya iti. At the end of the millennium, ignorance personified assumes the form of a demon, who assumes the form of a demon, steals all the Vedas and took them down to the planet of Rasatala. The Supreme Lord, however, in his form as Hayagriva, retrieved the Vedas and returned them to Lord Brahma when he begged for them. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord, whose determination never fails. Purport. Although Vedic knowledge is imperishable, within this material world it is sometimes manifest and sometimes not. When the people of this material world become too absorbed in ignorance, the Vedic knowledge disappears. Lord Hayagriva or Lord Matsya, however, always protect the Vedic knowledge, and in due course of time it is again distributed through the medium of Lord Brahma. Brahma is the trustworthy representative of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, when he again asked for the treasure of Vedic knowledge, the Lord fulfilled his desire. Okay. So we will continue from text 7 on Wednesday. On Monday. And conclude our reading here for today. So the beginning of this chapter was talking about the reality of facing the death of this world, the sickness of this world that everybody experiences, and the tendency for exploitation by those who were considered loved ones of people who pass away. So, Srila Prabhupada gives his purports aimed at a wide range of kinds of people in society. Right? His purport is for humanity at large. So we may be living in like a comfortable middle-class family and have never heard of someone acting in that way, right? But that's because of the limited scope of our experience in a more comfortable environment where maybe people don't go that low, or if they do, we don't hear about it, right? But that doesn't mean that there are not people acting in that way, and that out of the sheer mercy of the pure Vaishnava like Prabhupada, he's even preaching to them. If you know people like this, or you are a person like this, recognize the stupidity of these kind of actions and ways of thinking, and recognize that this plane of birth, death, old age, and disease is not desirable. This mood of exploitation is not constructive for personal development, for spiritual development. So Prabhupada is speaking to humanity at large, and if we can't relate to some of the purports, it's because of the limited scope of our personal experience, not because of the lack of relevance of his preaching. Right? He is trying to reach everybody all at once. So we have to take that into consideration. Because that's how I was feeling. I was like, I don't know anyone who acted like that. So, why is he saying it like this? And then I could realize, oh, he's speaking to a much wider audience than I've been accustomed to in my limited life experience. So, we were just talking about this, Tulsi Maharani, Devi, and myself were just talking about this morning how good it is that a lot of these verses in Bhagavatam can make us feel uncomfortable, because that's the point, actually, right? We want to go outside of our comfort zone. We want to question our comfort zone. We want to be challenged so that we can grow spiritually, grow as a person, expand our consciousness. That only happens when your current position is challenged and shaken, and the opportunity for growth is there. So it's a great opportunity to be reading Bhagavatam so often throughout the week, and to constantly be confronted by these challenging verses that make us feel a little uncomfortable and question things, and try to harmonize our experience with what is being said and what Srila Prabhupada explains in his purports. It's a great exercise in trying to be more spiritual. So, before we conclude, are there any comments or questions? Also worth noting, today is Ram Navami on the calendar, the appearance day of Lord Ramachandra, the incarnation of Krishna as the ideal king and ideal ruler of Ayodhya, Ayodhya Dham. So, we pay our humble obeisance to the Lord. Jai Sitaram Hanuman, Hanuman Sitaram ki jai, Hanuman Lakshman Sitaram ki jai,
Jai.
Jai Ayodhya Dham ki jai.
Jai.
So is there anything else before we conclude?
I thought it was pretty amazing that the two conversations we had prior to you doing the reading was what you read.
Yeah. Synchronicity, right? That means some divine intervention is there. Important to meditate on these topics today, especially. Beyond just today, but today especially. Okay. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Shripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Tirtha Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai.
Jai.
All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees, Sama Bhaktiveda Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai,
Jai.
Mai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai,
Jai.
Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai, Shyam Kund Radha Kund Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai.
Jai.
Scientific Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai.
Jai.
Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Chaitanya
Jai.
Saraswati Mat ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Shukadev
Jai.
Goswami ki jai.
Jai.
Nitai
Jai.
Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Hari
Hari Hari Bol.
Bol. Jai Shrimati
Haribol.
Rama Devi Dasi ki jai.
Jai
Jai
Jai.
Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Devi Dasi ki jai.
Jai.
Jai. Krishna Keshavadas Brahmachari Ki Jai.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai
Hare
Gurudev. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.